Okay, guys, looks like we're live. And again, I need to apologize. I understand that this setup isn't nearly as good as what we usually have. I understand that this is not necessarily ideal, but like I've said before, we drove from Texas to Florida so I could see my family. So for the week, this is what we have to deal with. I'm very sorry, but I'm going to continue to live stream, continue to update y'all with what's going on in free agency, what's going on just with the Dynasty landscape and where we stand. And one good thing about these live streams is I can go through and I can answer your questions directly as we are live. Y'all know that this is something I do every single day throughout the day on Patreon. But I understand that a lot of people aren't able to support the show on Patreon, but they still support the show by subscribing, by dropping likes, by leaving comments. So I want to do what I can to try to answer as many of your questions as possible. So I think that live streaming is going to do just that. Let me pull up the live chat, and as we do so, let me just start us off with the conversation. Juju Smith-Schuster back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I am sure y'all heard analysis on this about 20 times already since it's happened, but I have to talk about it. Y'all know Juju is someone that I overpaid for in Dynasty last year. I overdrafted him. I traded way too much for him in a lot of leagues, especially, I mean, if you go through those Flock Patreon Dynasty leagues, I mean, y'all have so many examples of me just drastically overpaying for Juju Smith-Schuster. So, of course, we're going to be following this situation extremely closely, and I'm going to have to kind of just sit here, hang my head, and go, you know what? I was wrong. I did it again. This is horrible. This is something that is not ideal because we go through this Pittsburgh Steelers situation. Chase Claypool was by far and away the most efficient wide receiver on the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. As a rookie, we understand that he has the physical profile to be someone with an insane amount of upside. So we expect his target share to continue to increase in this offense. And Colin Johnson was actually the leader in target share for when he was healthy for this Pittsburgh Steelers offense. So it looks like Juju going back to Pittsburgh is now probably going to be near the bottom of that trio in the amount of targets he is seeing per game. And with Juju, he has never been someone to be incredibly efficient with his targets. So we go, you know what? Okay, so he's probably going to have very poor quarterback play, and Ben Roethlisberger looks like he is completely washed. He looks like he's going to be third in the team target totem pole, and he's only playing on a one-year deal worth $8 million. This does not add up well for Juju. This is not what we were wanting. Now, where do we go from here? Now, do we sell low? Do we just bite the bullet? And I think it's going to be a little bit dependent on your team situation. Now, if you are a very strong contender, if you are a team that you go, you know what? I have Alvin Kamara. I have Derrick Henry. I'm the favorite to win the title in 2021. But outside of that, I don't have many long-term pieces. There, I think maybe you look at Juju and you go, you know what? He's not going to give me anything this year. He's not going to be a significant piece in contributing to a title contention. So let's just take Juju. Let's use him in a package to get an upgrade somewhere else in our starting lineup and wash our hands of him. Now, that is something you can do. But on teams that are in the middle of the road, on teams that are maybe a little bit closer to rebuilding, we have to understand that Juju was historically young to hit free agency. I mean, it's ridiculous how he hit free agency at this age. So considering the fact that he only signed a one-year deal, I think if you're a rebuilding team with Juju Smith-Schuster, what you're going to do is you're going to sit here, you're going to go, you know what? I mean, he's not going to drastically increase his value over the next 8 months. It's really not possible. And I hate to say that as someone who has been public on liking Juju's value. I hate to say it. But I think you're just going to have to sit there. You're going to have to wait till next year's free agency and pray that he finds himself in a better situation. Because right now, Colin Johnson, Chase Claypool, and Juju are all going to cannibalize their targets. And Ben Roethlisberger isn't going to have this Pittsburgh Steelers offense near the top of the NFL every year like we've seen previously. Okay, so now that we took the L on that one, now that we apologized and said where we stood, now let's go to a player that I said there was a 0% chance he was back in Seattle. I said that there was no way he was getting this type of contract. And the Seattle Seahawks re-signed Chris Carson to a pretty nice deal. And I know a lot of people on Patreon have been telling me, but Mason, it's not a long-term deal. Mason, look at the structure, blah, blah, blah. It's voidable. And I'm saying, guys, that's every running back contract. That's every running back contract that is after the rookie deal. That's why we're looking at a Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry only has 1 year left of guaranteed money. So Chris Carson getting this deal to begin with, I mean, it's fantastic. This deal signifies that Chris Carson is going to be the starting running back in Seattle in 2021. And regardless of if Russell Wilson's going to be there or not, that's going to be a very nice position to have. Because if Wilson is there, we know that the efficiency for this Seattle Seahawks offense should be near the very top of the NFL. And if Wilson is not there, they are going to, A, get a giant haul for Russell Wilson, hopefully getting pieces around him that can improve the run game efficiency. And B, we know that if they do not have Russell Wilson, they're probably going to be a little bit more run heavy with Chris Carson. So this is fantastic for Carson. This pretty much kills whatever value we were hoping Rashad Penny was going to have, because Penny, if you look at the historical hit rate of a first-round drafted running back that is yet to produce through 2 years in the NFL, I mean, really, it's extremely low. And then throw in the fact that I believe that actually Rashad Penny's been in the NFL for 3 years. He was in that 2018 NFL draft. It's 2021, not 2020 now. So Rashad Penny, the historical hit rate is going to be hilariously low. He's going to be in a backfield with Travis Homer, DJ Dallas, Chris Carson. So although I love the talent of a Rashad Penny, the road to opportunity is going to be very hard to find. I think that if you have any Penny truthers in your league, if you can use them as a throw-in and get another piece back, that's also going to be something we're looking to do. I just have to sit here, and there's no way to try to paint a nice picture of this for anybody who has faded Chris Carson, for anybody who's bought in to Rashad Penny. We have to sit here, we have to take our L, and we have to try to remain objective about it, regardless of if we are losing value along with it. Okay, so let me go through and let's see. We have massive news during this live stream. This is going to be an instant reaction. Kenny Gallaudet signs with the New York Giants. Okay, so here with New York, I'll say this significantly helps the value of Daniel Jones. I mean, Daniel Jones, regardless of what you thought of his play last year, was kind of set up to fail in a way where we know that that New York Giants offensive line, not one of the best in the NFL, very far from it. And then we throw on the fact that Saquon Barkley was out for the year. We throw on the fact that, I mean, if your top options are Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, Darius Slayton, what are you expecting for a player like Daniel Jones? So Daniel Jones in those super flex formats, considering the rushing production he had his rookie season out of Duke as well, I think Daniel Jones, you can't call him a buy low anymore because Daniel Jones owners are going to be a little bit more excited. But this definitely helps his value to go along with this. With Daniel Jones, we know that he does have the job security for 2021, where it's almost impossible for the New York Giants to decide to bring in another quarterback, given the fact that they have Daniel Jones on that rookie deal. They spent a top 10 pick on him. So Jones should be that quarterback in 2021. And for Kenny Gallaudet himself, I don't want to say this is horrible because, yes, the offense is bad. Yes, the quarterback play is going to be bad. But we are going to end up seeing Kenny Gallaudet slide into that Alpha X wide receiver role. Darius Slayton's going to be playing alongside him. And we know with Darius Slayton, just like we were talking about the live stream last night, he profiles to be one of those wide receivers that isn't necessarily just accruing an insane target share. Darius Slayton's going to be one of those wide receivers that ends up stretching the field for an alpha wide receiver like Kenny Gallaudet. So you have to like this signing if you're just talking about the targets that are going to be available. Now, obviously, you have to put in question the efficiency of those targets that he is going to be receiving, just because we know the quarterback play, Daniel Jones, blah, blah, blah. And I will also say that it's not out of the range of outcomes to see this team still invest into Jalen Waddle, still invest into Kyle Pitts with their first-round pick. We know that that has been a landing spot mocked for both of those players very often. And I think this is what you kind of want to see New York do. You want to see New York go out there and either spend up that pick on an offensive lineman, spend that pick on some speed with Jalen Waddle, and go, you know what, let's go all in on Daniel Jones. This is the year. We need to know if he's going to be our starting quarterback going forward. So it's not out of the range of outcome to still see this team invest into a skill positional player with that first-round pick. So overall, you love this for Daniel Jones. Kenny Gallaudet, I'll say, probably going to have him as a mid-wide receiver too, just because we understand that he is one of the most talented wide receivers in the entire NFL. So I would really like to see the contract details with Kenny Gallaudet. I know we're not going to get that for a good while now, but that's going to signify exactly what they are going to be planning with in terms of his role, in terms of what kind of target share we should be expecting, and if they're going to be bringing in any other wide receivers along the way. Okay, so let's go through and let's see if anybody else wants to hear anything. Okay, so I see we have some people in the chat asking about Philip Lindsay. Okay, so Philip Lindsay going to Houston, who this affects, let's count it out. Melvin Gordon, that's the only person this affects. I mean, that Houston situation, not only without Deshaun Watson, if they are without Deshaun Watson in 2021, are they going to be probably the worst offense in the NFL? But to go along with it, David Johnson's under contract. They just signed Mark Ingram. That's going to be a backfield you literally want nothing to do with, because we're not scared of committee running back backfields when they're on good NFL offenses. If you can go and you can invest into a muddy backfield that is going to be on the 49ers, going to be on the Patriots, not necessarily this year, but in years prior, that's actually a winning bet, just because we know when their offense is going to be making trips to the red zone, one of those running backs is going to be putting up points. But in the case of Houston, I mean, without Deshaun Watson, I'm assuming they do not have Deshaun Watson, it's going to be nasty to see any type of running back production. So I'll say, really, this does nothing for Philip Lindsay's value. This does nothing for Mark Ingram. This does nothing for David Johnson. You weren't really wanting any of those players anyway. Okay, so Ernest coming out says, remember when you hated on my mock team after I got Carson in the 9th? Yeah, guys, like I said, I am very, very willing to admit I was completely wrong on Chris Carson. That's why the title of this video was, I was wrong. So let's go through and see if we have any other things. Okay, so Dom and Ian saying it's a 4-year, $72 million deal for Kenny Gallaudet. Okay, that's massive. What I really want to see is I really want to see the guaranteed money with that deal. We understand that we don't get those numbers until quite a bit later on, but still that's something that is going to be very, very important to look at. And also, I just want to give a massive thank you for everybody who's dropped a like on the live stream so far. See, we are about at 15 likes. Literally half the people watching the stream have dropped a like on it. Thank you so much. That is absolutely massive. Okay, so PT says, I really like holding on to Colin Johnson from the Jags. Dude is 6'6" with Trevor Lawrence. He might be a sneaky play. Man, Colin Johnson, not lying about this, literally was in my psychology class, I believe, spring semester of my junior year. Does that make... Yes. No, actually, fall semester of my junior year. So, yeah, of course, I love Colin Johnson. Yeah, I mean, the man is an absolute monster. I will say his hands are a lot smaller than you would expect from someone of that stature, but the situation is going to be a lot better. And you like that, playing next to DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault, two speedy guys that don't necessarily need a ton of targets to be hyper productive. So yeah, I really like the situation going on for Colin Johnson right now. Okay, so let's go through. PT saying, Mason, how is Aaron Jones' value right now? I will say that with Aaron Jones, I am actually going to be looking to sell high. I understand that that's probably an annoying take, and y'all know I was the guy saying, hey, sell high on A.J. Dillon about a month ago. I was saying buy low on A.J. Dillon 6 months ago, sell high a month ago. I mean, we really have been doing everything we can to track this Green Bay running back situation. And I'll say here, Jamal Williams leaving, you are not going to see A.J. Dillon having that same exact role of Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams got a lot of the meaningless touches between the 20s, the carries between the 20s that we always talk about, not necessarily being that valuable in fantasy. Now, what we're going to see with A.J. Dillon is he's probably going to rack those up as well as getting goal line work, and that's going to significantly hinder the ability for Aaron Jones to finish as a top 3 running back. You throw in the fact that Aaron Jones' production, if you look at his efficiency marks from last season, was completely unsustainable. So Aaron Jones still going to be a sell for me, still 26 years old on his second contract, and this team still invested a second-round pick into a separate running back last offseason. So please look to sell Aaron Jones if you can get a Travis Etienne. I mean, I am doing that all day. I am resetting that running back clock with the Travis Etienne, no problem. Okay, so Joseph is saying $40 million guaranteed for Kenny Gallaudet. Okay, so if that is true, that is absolutely massive. I mean, great for Kenny Gallaudet. I don't know what to say outside of that. Okay, Ernest coming in says, is Austin Eckler a running back 1? Okay, so here with Eckler, what you actually like to see is you like to see that the Chargers have been able to upgrade their offensive line, and you actually like to see that Hunter Henry's gone. I understand that that doesn't make much sense. I understand that I probably sound like I don't know what I'm talking about when I'm saying that, but Hunter Henry was one of those tight ends that his average depth of target was really low, yet his target share was pretty high whenever he was healthy. So we go, okay, what are the other players in that offense that are going to be running routes that have a low average depth of target? If we see one of Justin Herbert's main targets leave that offense, that's not going to be Mike Williams. Mike Williams has a very high average depth of target. You're not going to be seeing those two players operate anywhere near each other on the football field. I actually like the small bump up in the projected target share for Austin Eckler to go along with that. The increased in efficiency based on the fact that the offensive line should be up. Okay, so now that's garbage coming out. Says, do you do any IDP, Mason? Just wondering. No, sir. No IDP here. Literally, I have way too much on my plate already. Y'all know I am massive into fantasy basketball, and Dynasty fantasy football is my passion. But the thing here is, with IDP, I mean, that would just, I would have a meltdown. I couldn't do everything. So no, I can probably name about 10 players on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL. Really like to focus in on just target shares, like to focus in on projected efficiency of offenses and long-term player outlook in Dynasty. Really don't need to focus too much in on the defensive side of the ball when doing so. So yeah, let's just stay away from IDP where we can. Okay, so Adam asking, what is the Dynasty value of Curtis Samuel after the signing? Here with Curtis Samuel, I'll say I love the wide receiver. I love the fit as well in Washington. His value himself is going to be a little bit harder to project because we know with Curtis Samuel, he's extremely young. Very similar to Juju Smith-Schuster. He came into that 2017 NFL draft class at a hilariously young age. I believe he was drafted at 20 years old. And with Curtis Samuel, he's been efficient with the targets that he has had so far in his career, and he's improved almost every single season if you look at those efficiency marks. And he got the massive contract. But the reason he got the big contract isn't necessarily because they profile him to be an X wide receiver. The reason he got that contract is because of his versatility, and he brings so much to the Washington football team that isn't necessarily going to translate over to fantasy production. So with Curtis Samuel, he's an intriguing case of a player that has a high floor if you're looking at season-long totals, has a low ceiling, but it's going to be volatile week to week. So it's going to be very dependent on the league format that you play. If you play in a format like the Flock Patreon leagues, where you have a ton of flex spots, where it's actually best ball, so you're going to be able to capture those spike weeks. There, in my opinion, he has a ton of value. But if you play in a league where you possibly only start 9 players and it's super flex, then in that case, I don't really have much faith in Curtis Samuel being a difference maker for you. Okay. So let's go through. Austin saying traded the 103 for Aaron Jones in a 2022 first. Did I scam the man? Okay, I understand how it looks like that. I will say I like your deal, but if we look this at in terms of the players that you're trading away, just say that you end up seeing Trevor Lawrence go with the first pick, then you end up seeing, just say Travis Etienne find the best running back landing spot out of the guys, then you maybe have Travis Etienne going 102. Then in that case, you traded Najee Harris for Aaron Jones in the 2022 first, which we still like that trade, but if you look at it through that light, I don't necessarily think it's a straight up scam. Okay, so Dakota asking, what are you spending on Danny Dimes? Are you spending the 109 through the 111 in the Superflex League? Dakota, man, we have talked about this a lot before, I believe. I would not be spending the 109. I would not be spending the 110. I would be willing to spend probably the 112 in that range, 201, because we go through, we try to map out this rookie class. We know that there are 4 top quarterbacks. You have Lawrence, Fields, Wilson, Lance. Then you have 2 top wide receivers, in my opinion, Devontae Smith and Jamar Chase. Then 3 top running backs in Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, and a giant gap down to Javonte Williams. But we know a lot of people love Javonte Williams, so Javonte is probably going to go ahead of one of those wide receivers. And then you also have Kyle Pitts at the tight end position. So it's a total of 10 guys that you have to get really excited about, 10 guys that you would easily have over Daniel Jones. So if you get outside that range and assume, hey, there's probably going to be one player with a very nice landing spot at the 111, then we go 112, 201, 202. That's what we'd be interested in sending away from for Daniel Jones, but I honestly don't even know if it would cost that much. And Dakota, you're saying, I mean, that's the Mac Jones range. I'll say that's probably the Mac Jones range if you're playing a 14-team Superflex League or a true 2-quarterback league. It's going to push Mac Jones up the board. But if you see Mac Jones going at the 109, if you see Mac Jones going ahead of Kyle Pitts, ahead of Devontae Smith, I really hate that pick, so I wouldn't even agree with that being in the range. Okay, so let's go through. And Adam saying, I traded Curtis Samuel in the 108 for the 104 in a 1-quarterback league. What do you think? Man, I love that trade. In a 1-quarterback league, that 104 is probably going to be either Devontae Smith or Jamar Chase. depending on what order you see those wide receivers go off the board in, and depending on their landing spots in the NFL draft. So if you're going to be trading the 108 in a one quarterback league, that pick is not going to be too desirable. That is probably just going to be a Tylan Wallace. Actually, that's probably a little too early on Tylan Wallace. Just say, I don't even want to say a Rashad Bateman because I know Rashad Bateman has a ton of hype for him trending as of late. So Bateman's probably going to go a little bit before that. But a wide receiver in that range, a wide receiver that's in that wide receiver 2 range, and a player like Curtis Samuel, if this is not necessarily a super deep league, I love the trade going up there and getting that 104 where you can grab one of those elite level prospects. Okay, so yeah, Dakota's saying 112 to early second is Mac Jones is what I meant. Yeah, man, that makes complete sense. And yeah, here with Mac Jones, I'll say I would definitely prefer Daniel Jones over Mac Jones. And that's not, I would have done that before Kenny Gallaudet, to be completely honest. Okay, so Domino King asking, Mason, would you accept a trade for Lamar Jackson and Tua and a 2022 first-round pick, or Tua and a player? I would prefer Lamar over Tua and the first if this is a super flex league, which I'm assuming it is. Okay, let me see if we have any other last-minute questions. I want to thank everybody for coming out to this live stream. I want to thank everybody for dropping likes, subscribing to the channel. It means a ton. And yeah, I'm very, very, very sorry about the news with Chris Carson and Juju Smith-Schuster. I was not expecting any of that to happen. I was expecting Juju to find himself out of Pittsburgh. I was expecting us to end up seeing Chris Carson also out of Seattle. And yeah, I mean, that's nasty. We do not like to see it, of course. But we cannot ignore it. We have to own up to it. And I'll also say this kills Diontae Johnson. This hurts Diontae Johnson more than it hurts Chase Claypool, because Diontae Johnson has not shown that he can be efficient with his targets, where Chase Claypool has shown that ability. So you're a little bit more worried about the target share going down from Diontae Johnson rather than Chase Claypool. But let's answer a couple more questions, then we'll end the stream. Okay, JN coming out here. Man, thank you so much for coming out. Alejandro saying Samuel in the 109 for DJ Moore in a one quarterback league, start 8. Man, in a one quarterback league, start 8, where you're pretty much just prioritizing studs. Yes, go get DJ Moore for Curtis Samuel in the 109. Maybe if that's the going rate for Curtis Samuel at this point, maybe we become sellers where we can, to be honest. Okay, so John asking us Mark Andrews or the 109 in a one quarterback format. There, you're going to go Mark Andrews. Don't even need to think about it, to be honest, guys. Those one quarterback picks are going to be a lot grosser than the super flex picks. I mean, in a one quarterback league, that 109 is equivalent to like the 201, 202 in the super flex format. And yeah, you'd rather have Mark Andrews there. Okay, Corey saying traded Devontae Adams for Dak Prescott and a 2021 104. That's a super flex league. Obviously, that's a smash. Okay, so Jaws asking if AB gets cleared in his case, may he sign somewhere and get relevant again. I would expect Antonio Brown actually to go to Tampa Bay, just because I don't necessarily see him just completely wiping his name clean, where another team would be willing to take on that brand hit. Another team would be willing to take on that locker room headache. It would be different if he came out last year and made a significant difference for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but that really didn't happen. So I would say, I think the most likely scenario for AB is he finds himself back in Tampa. Okay, but thank you guys. Really hope you all enjoyed the live stream. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you for dropping likes. I truly appreciate it. And I will be with the family all day tomorrow. Gonna go to Disney. So if I live stream tomorrow, which I'm gonna do my best, to do it. It will be late tomorrow night. So yeah, I hope to see y'all then. And have a great day, guys.